Alrighty, boys. If you haven't already, you're going to want to make a tab, or if you're doing separate files, a separate file for the wheel. We're going to do the wheel today. I'm going to tell you right now that everybody's wheel is different, and so you're going to have to be sort of flexible on how you make your wheel. It's not just different dimensions or different shapes. I mean, there could be some fundamentally different techniques for making it, depending on what wheel you have. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with like basic stuff that apply to all of us, okay? And that is the part of the wheel that the tire would be touching. That's the same for everybody. So your tire should be off. What would be the best feature to use to make this wheel? Revolve. If it was just a ring, you could do a revolve or a cylinder, like that way, or you could do an extrusion. That's just like a ring and you extrude it up. But because the shape is changing, like you have to do multiple extrusions and then fillets at weird angles, it's just better just to do a revolve because you can just make one sketch and then one feature. Okay, so we're going to do a revolve. And exactly the way that you want to orient this is up to you. But I am actually going to draw the revolve on the front plane. Okay, so do sketch on the front plane. I am putting the wheel like this. Does that make sense? I hope maybe.
Is this the top or the bottom?
The top will be the part with like the spokes. It won't matter for this, but eventually it might matter. Okay. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw a random vertical line at the origin. The height, irrelevant. All that matters is that it starts at the origin, just so it's grounded in the coordinate system, and that it goes vertical. So you should use that snap to vertical constraint. The reason why the height is irrelevant is this is going to be a...
Hey, bro. Julian's right here. Walk back up.
What's right here?
You good?
Hold on, this is for freaking seeing.
They tricked you.
What?
So you're going to be making this a construction line. So select the line, and you can click on the construction button right here. Or if you click on the construction button, then you can click on the line. Either way. But it should be a dashed line. It's got this pattern. It's like a long dash followed by like a dot and then a long dash. That's the universal convention for a construction line. Construction lines are used to help you construct your stuff, right? Yes, yeah. In fact, we did this with the axle. When we did the revolve with the axle, you may recall that we had a construction line here. And while I did dimension it eventually, you don't have to dimension their heights if you don't want to, because it's a construction line, so it's not necessarily expecting you to. Okay? And then I'm going to draw the profile. I'm going to draw the profile of this wheel. So I need you to really watch carefully how I do my dimensions. But for starters, we're just going to do the shape. So this profile, okay, I have a vertical line that's basically, this is like the inside edge of the outer ring. Okay? I know that it's rounded on these inner edges. We'll use a fillet for that. In fact, I think I brought this up that my recommendation most of the time, I prefer to fillet with feature tool rather than with the sketch tool. Okay? And we've talked about why that is. So this is actually this inside. I know it's curved at top and bottom, but we're just going to do a straight vertical line. And so then what we need to do after that is we just got to draw the like top lip. So notice I'm using the vertical and horizontal auto constraints. And then it kind of cuts in, right? And then this goes down. And then it like cuts back out. Notice that there's this auto constraint being applied to line these up. Do you see the orange dotted line? Because those little like rims, they go the same distance out on both top and bottom. And so I'm going to do that snap to constraint. And then this is going to be a snap to constraint. Notice the orange dotted going to the origin. So it's snapping to not only be a vertical line, but also that the end of it is horizontally aligned with the origin, which is what I want. And then I just finish it off. There's not even any constraint for the last line because there's no other way it could possibly be. It has to already be horizontal. And I get that. Real quick, don't do this, just watch. If I revolve this, okay, that's my wheel. We see, yes, we're seeing how it shapes up. You don't need to do the feature yet, okay? Just kind of making sure you can clearly visualize why this shape works. I am going to tell you right now that if just drawing this, if you accidentally apply constraints you don't want, you're probably better off just restarting from scratch. Delete it, restart. If you don't apply constraints that you want, that is a much easier thing to fix. You could just actually apply them manually, right? So if you didn't draw a certain line and get the snap to constraint because for whatever reason, you just have to apply the constraint later. But if there's extra constraints in what you want, unless you really know what you're doing, it's tough to find those. Okay? Do you have questions? I'm going to give you all a moment. Not a super long moment, but I'm going to give you all a moment to I'm going to give you all a moment to like get that drawn because I really want you to be able to pay attention to how to dimension it. So take a moment or 2 or 10. Meanwhile, I'm going to cook my noodles. It says they're noodles, but gooder.
Oh, wow. Good.
It literally says on the little thing, enlarged to show yum. And then it says, Shella good. Goodles is a property of Gooder Foods Incorporated. Do you know what the main ingredient is in this?
GMO.
Goodles shells. Who would have thought?
Yes, I did. I traded you a piece for a chocolate.
Remove lid, film, and cheese packet. Add water to the fill line. Microwave on high for 4 minutes.
Uh-huh.
All right. We're now going to do our dimensions. Please pay very close attention to how I dimension this. It matters significantly. Okay? We've already done something like this before, but it's good to see it multiple times. Let's get our height first. Okay? There. Easy. Get that height. Okay? I'm getting somewhere around 14. It's actually about 14 and a half, almost exactly. So I'm going to do 14 and a half. So I'm going to dimension the height of this 14.5. Everything should scale with that first dimension. Okay? So your first dimension is important. We got our height. Yes? Yeah? Yeah? Now, for everything else, a lot of these are diameters. I'm going to do the outer diameter first. So to be very clear, what I'm measuring, I am measuring the diameter of the rim. So not the inside part, but these rims. We understand? Yes, say yeah. And the best way to do that is to grab the wheel like this. If you try to grab the wheel this way, the problem is there's no guarantee that you're grabbing it as widest point. If you turn it like this, you have to go around as widest point. We understand the difference? Yes, yeah. I'm getting somewhere around 37 millimeters. Okay, I'm trying to, generally speaking, I'm trying to round in nearest millimeter with rare exception. So somewhere around 37. That is a diameter. We understand this, yes? Yeah. So watch how I dimension this. I'm going to click on this corner or this line, doesn't matter. And then I'm going to click on this construction line. Now, I could dimension to that line regardless of whether it's a construction line or not. But this next thing would only occur if I made it a construction line. Before I click to place my dimension, if I move my cursor to be on this side, see how now it is a diameter. Okay? I can type in a number. I got 37, by the way. Now I'm free to move this. Once I've already placed it, I can move this number to be wherever I want it. We understand? We're good? Yes or yeah? Now, if you drew this correctly the first time, then this line over here is already aligned with this line here. If it's not, you should do that. Do a horizontal constraint to line up a corner from the top to a corner at the bottom. Okay? But if you drew it correctly, that already occurred. Sound good? Yes or yeah? Okay. Now, we're going to do another diameter, the inside. Obviously, it should be less than the bigger number. So, I'm getting 34. Okay? So, again, how do I do a diameter? I want a dimension from this line to the center line. I click on this. I click on my construction line. It's now my center line. And then when I place the dimension, before I click the place, I move my cursor over here. And I place it, and I think I got 33 point something that rounded up to 34. So there we go. We understand? Yes or yeah? Okay. There's not a whole lot left I have to dimension. But I do have a few things. One, I do need to get some details on the rims. So I would get an idea of how high a rim is. It's kind of thin. Maybe 1 or 1.5. You do you. I'm going to go with 1. You can go with 1.5, whatever you think it is. Now, I could dimension both of these, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a constraint. What constraint would be the best one to use here, boy?
Equal constraint?
Yeah, I just use the equal constraint, right? I'm actually going to make it 1.5. Okay. You just go to the equal constraint, not parallel, equal. And I click on this line, and I set it to be equal to this line. Sound good? Yes, say yeah. Now, there's another thing that I need to do. I got to get some indicator regards to these angled things. And the real world is different than software. In software, I can dimension whatever I want. In the real world, I have to actually get that dimension. And so me personally, I think if you use the top teeth, you can get a fairly good estimate for how high this inner part is. Okay?
11 millimeters.
I'm getting 10 points on that rounds to 11. So yeah, somewhere around there. Okay? It's like inside there though, you see? Yeah? And then you can dimension that. That's not it. We're not done. But that's the dimension that I think is easiest to get. A reasonably decent, accurate thing. Now, it looks a little goofy, doesn't it? I mean, mine does. Maybe yours does not. Before you do anything else, sometimes you need to manually move things before you start applying additional dimensions or constraints. Understand? Yes or yeah? So, hear me out. I'm going to drag this, clicking on this dot. I'm dragging it so that they both kind of point inward. Does that make sense? Yes? Yeah, yeah. None of them are pointing like outward like that. They're both pointing inward. Now, if you feel like this isn't quite right, you can adjust this. You know, maybe you're like, I don't know, that's really 11. Like, you know, I checked it and I'm thinking maybe more 10 and a half. Or maybe you think these things are more 1 rather than 1.5. I mean, you do you. You can put whatever numbers you want. Okay? 10 and a half might be a little bit better. But just make sure that you manually adjust this so that they point in. We understand? Yes, yes, yes. And then what I'm going to do, this is very simple. I'm going to just do another equal constraint. I'm going to make this angled part equal in length to this angled part. And by doing that, this side, all of this over here should be 100% locked. If it's not, you're missing a dimension or a constraint. I'll give you a moment to figure that out.
It's like you me. Watch.
What we need now is really just one more dimension. What do we need the dimension? There's only one thing left. I gave you a hint. That's going to be related to the part that's blue.
The inside.
Yeah, we need to get the inside. So this is a little bit more difficult, but here's what I would do, okay? You can try and measure the thickness of this. You can certainly do that. And I don't have the best of luck with that because, like, the outside isn't a solid surface and there's a curve there. You can do that. You also, though, can use the upper teeth that measures interior dimensions and try and get the inside. The problem of doing this is you got to make sure that you're running through the fattest part of it, right? And one way to do that is you pull these apart as much as you can, and that forces them to go to the widest part inside. Make sense? Yes or yeah? And I'm getting 29 point something, so that rounds to 30. Okay, so I'm probably going to do 30. I could probably do 29 or 29 and a half, somewhere around there. You do you, but you got to dimension either the diameter associated with this or the width of this. Okay, you got to do one of the two. Yeah, I'm just going to go with 30. And I'm done. That's it. I'm done. Sound good? Yes, yeah. I'll let that simmer for a moment. Now, I didn't dimension the height of this line, but I could do a quick horizontal constraint and line the top of it up with this. You know, I could do that. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. It's a construction line. But that's it. That's the outer wall. We're good? Yes, say yeah? I am going to hit a green check mark and I'm going to rename this outer wall. Now, you have some choices here. If you want, you could do a single revolve for the entire thing. So you could do this inner part as well as this stuff that is up here if you wanted to. That is certainly an option. You could also do them separately. What do you guys think? What would be the best here?
Separate.
You think separate. What do other people think? I'm not saying you're right or wrong, just what other people think. Separate or not? I don't think one's categorically better than the other, but I mean, I do think one is better, but there's some merits to each. So you tell me, what do you think would be better? These are the kind of decisions you're going to have to make in the future. When you're doing your test, no one's holding your hand, no one's walking you through this. You're on your own, so you're going to make choices. You know, what's the best way to make this shape? You're going to do that. All of your future projects, you're going to do that. What do you guys think? Should we make the inner part a separate sketch and feature? Should we put it as part of this one? What do you guys think?
Where's that sketch?
Do you think it should be part of this one? Okay. Why do you think it should be part of this one?
Because if we're revolving it, then it's going to be the same ring as usual, and we can make connecting pieces as well, and just extrude a hole and then revolve it around.
So they are connected, right? They're touching each other. So they're going to be using a lot of the similar geometry and dimensions. So making them separate is going to definitely make more work. Austin, why do you think they should be separate?
Because this part would be like easier to do, like on top of the, like you could sketch it on the wheel.
So I do think that part of the decision here is what your spokes look like, or what you plan to make them look like. I will tell you that me personally, I would do it as one. But if you have the light blue wheel, depending on how you plan on doing that, I can see that breaking that up might be potentially advantageous. It might give you a little more control over how you do it or make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to do them all as one, okay? Because I think for most of you, that's the best way. But is it the only way? No. And it may not even be the best way for some of the wheels. I think for the light blue car wheel, I don't know if it's necessarily the best. But the other ones, I don't know. The purple, does that one go in? Do those like indent? Yeah, they kind of sink in, don't they? So the purple one could go either way. I think the green one piece is probably the best. Okay, so I named it outer wall, but if I'm going to do all of them, then it's really just the wheel profile. So I'll just rename this wheel profile. You do you. Make a good choice. But whether you're doing it on a separate sketch or not, I'm going to now do the inner part. So what do we mean by the inner part? This is the part that like literally the axle goes in, okay? So you have two diameters. You got two diameters, an inner and an outer. For measuring the outer diameter, so it's going to sound a little confusing, but we're measuring the outer diameter of the inner part. Okay, for measuring the outer diameter, you'll use the big fat teeth on the bottom, but when you do it, make sure that you kind of go, I would go at like an angle, so that you are grabbing it around its fattest part and guaranteed 100%. So I kind of have mine at an angle, you see that? So I can get them in there, so I'm going around the fattest part guaranteed. I am not doing this. This is dumb. Don't do this. There's no guarantee that you're grabbing it at the widest part. Angle it some. Doesn't even have to be perpendicular. Just angle it some. You're guaranteed your teeth have to go around the widest part. Make sense? Yeah. I got a number. It's about 11 and a half. I think I'm going to go with 11 and a half. So I want to draw a vertical line. And I'm going to draw a horizontal line to be the, I don't know if we lost the internet or not. And then I'm going to draw another vertical line. And I said that outer was about 11.5. So I'm going to go measure that. 11.5. For the inner, same technique. You can either grab around the wall and try and measure the thickness. That's not perfect. About 1, by the way. Or you can put the inner teeth, the teeth that are on the top, that they're like for measuring inner dimensions, and you push them apart as much as you can. I got about 8 or so doing that. Now, your thing might be a little bit more complicated of a shape. So, like, for example, I'm noticing on mine, this is actually a little bit more complicated than I remember doing the previous year. Oh, boy. I want you to look at your, that inside of that inner cylinder. Is it perfectly straight for you guys, or does it kind of have like 2 separate sections where one's like a little bit thinner than the other section? But you all tell me. Does it seem like one smooth, like continuous surface on the inside, or does it seem to kind of have an angle to it? You kind of have like 2 separate sizes. And no one says anything. Wow. Y'all, I see like people like looking at their wheel intently. Like they're like, just like dug up like the biggest diamond from the middle of the Sahara Desert. I imagine this is from the 3rd pharaoh approximately 4,000 years ago. But I might be wrong. If only my main man, Indiana Jones, was here to run away from a boulder or 2 and shoot some Nazis. He would know how old this is.
Her.
No one's going to say anything. Okay. Well, that's not awkward at all. Well, you know what then? I'm not going to help you. You're on your own. Sucks, skill issue. I'm going to go dimension mine. You all can do whatever you want. I mean, you should already know how to do this by now. We've pretty much done it before. So. One thing I would encourage you to do is clean up your dimensions so that it's easy to see them all. And one way to do that, for example, I'm going to move all of these down here and kind of notice what I did. I had the biggest one furthest out, and I kind of worked my way in as I got to smaller ones where I worked my way in. Okay? And I kind of staggered these numbers to save space, but not have them on top of each other. And then I'm going to do the same thing here.